Call meeting to order. Roll call, Terry, please.
Burns.
Here.
Chartrand.
Here.
King.
Here.
Calzer.
Here.
Lachos.
Here.
Lehman.
Here.
Mowerhand. Here. Mosier.
Here.
Osborne.
Here.
Dahlhoff.
Here. Please stand for the invocation and the pledge of the flag. We meet to serve our community, use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognize our responsibility to the past and the future, and the rights and the needs of both individuals and community. As trusted servants, we seek blessings on our deliberations and on our efforts here today. May we act wisely and well. Turn to the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I announce that the approval of the May 1st, 2018 meeting minutes stand approved. Report of the Rules and Legislation Committee for Rule 6. Terry, please.
The Rules and Legislation Committee has met. They recommended the rules be waived to act upon late resolutions this evening, signed by the entire committee. Need a motion to accept.
Motion by Brian, second by Randy. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. At this point, I'll open the public hearing for comments on local law number 3-2018, a local law providing for increases to salaries for certain local officials. And announce that there, at this point, we'll have privilege of the floor. Is there anyone here that would like to make comments on that public hearing for the salaries? No one seems to be interested, so we will move to an award for Ashley Waite. Which I have here. Ashley, if you would come up. Ashley has been a Lewis County Public Health employee for 6 years, starting as the immunization coordinator, followed by her promotion to the public health planner position. It was in this position that Mrs. Wade is now being recognized for her dedication to the field of public health and her commitment to strategic planning, evidence-based programming, and quality improvement. Ashley embraces public health in this position, in particular enthusiasm and skill. Mrs. Waite has facilitated the development of a public health quality improvement plan, which included a shift to a culture of quality for our services and has driven the agenda for having 75% of the programs to be evidence-based. This required working with all staff, researching for evidence-based information on all programs, and involving all staff through the committee process of quality improvement. She handled all aspects of this process professionally and has inspired other staff to embrace a culture of quality. In addition, Ashley spearheaded the development of the agency's 5-year strategic plan and is currently developing the workforce development plan, which will help to ensure the future viability of public health services in our county. Mrs. Wade completed her Master of Public Health degree in May, as well as raising 2 children, taking care of the house, cleaning the wash, the laundry. Never been there. Ashley is a strategic thinker and a community health strategist, as stated in the cover letter from the New York State Commissioner of Health. We hope that honoring you and your work will encourage other public health workers to aspire to your level of skill and dedication, as well as raise awareness of the essential services that public health workers provide in New York State. It is with pleasure that the Lewis County Board of Legislators presents the 2018 Public Health Works Honor Roll Award to Ashley Waite, Lewis County Public Health Supervising Public Health Nurse. Congratulations, Ashley. Next on the list is a proclamation to commemorate June as Dairy Month. Jerry, would you read the proclamation, please?
Whereas dairy farming is Lewis County's primary industry where the number of dairy animals exceeds the human population. According to 2017 data compiled by the U.S. Department of Ag Markets, Lewis was the 7th highest dairy producing county in New York. We are dependent upon dairy farmers to produce and provide vast nutritional products for our basic consumption needs. North Country dairy farmers reportedly pay an average of $32,000 per hired laborer. Dairy farmers have been challenged to retain their operations and facilities while faced with inequities of production costs compared to price instability for their milk product. Pursuant to the National Milk Producers Federation, each cow in the Northeast creates an average of $13,000 economic return to the community. The good agricultural infrastructure within Lewis County effects retention of a large portion of respective monies within our local economy. The dependence of our regional economy upon our dairy farmers cannot be overstated, considering tax revenue, money expended at local businesses, and jobs created directly by the farms and indirectly throughout the industry. We want to recognize the yeoman efforts of our Lewis County dairy farmers to provide vital food products while greatly enhancing the viability of our local economy. Now therefore I, Lawrence Dahlhoff, on behalf of the Lewis County Board of Legislators, hereby express our gratitude to each and every Lewis County dairy farmer for their contribution to our economy and health of our overall communities by declaring June as Dairy Month in Lewis County.
Thank you, Terry. Which that brings us into Brittany Davis as a natural dairy marketing campaign that she would like to present and show us the highlights of. So, Brittany, I'm not sure where you were at.
So Lewis County is an ideal county to raise dairy cows in. We have ideal temperatures, good water supply, and land that is well suited for our family dairy farms. But while the landscape has not changed much in the county, the economics of raising dairy cows and producing milk has. We live in a global market affected by the fluctuations of exports and imports, and sadly, the lack of demand for fluid milk. So even though organizations like Cornell University work on unique products like maple cheddar cheese and do research on milk beer for us to entice our generations to increase their consumption of milk, we have an oversupply of milk around the state and the nation. Just to give you an idea of the importance of dairy farm businesses, they create jobs in this county. For every full-time worker on dairy farms, another 1.5 jobs are created. For every dollar on on-farm milk sales in New York State, another 2.29 is generated. How does this affect Lewis County? In 2014, the average milk price, money per 100 pounds of milk, was $25.50. And in 2017, the price was $18.48. The projected price for 2018 is $16.98, and even that is not a solid number. This has created a negative cash flow for many farms, and a low milk price means many farms will not be buying new equipment or updating their infrastructures. We produce a lot of milk in Lewis County with our 172 dairy farms, and we would like to make sure we do not lose any more family farms to the current low milk prices we have had over the last 4 years. Recently, I helped a neighbor load his cows that he sold as he was selling out. He had milked on his farm with his dad for over 50 years. It was a way of life for him, and it was a sad day because not only was his lifestyle changing, his barn was empty, but the community around him changes also. And we don't want what makes up all the good parts of a small rural county to change. So with this Naturally Dairy Awareness campaign, we hope you will think when you do your grocery shopping and support our family farms. We appreciate the continued support of our county government for agriculture.
My name is Brittany Davis. I'm the Marketing Specialist with Lewis County Economic Development, and with me is Lindsay Ferlito. She's with Cornell Cooperative Extension, and Regan Damagala, our Lewis County Dairy Princess. So our Naturally Dairy campaign is a partnered effort between Cornell Cooperative Extension of Lewis County, the Lewis County Economic Development Office, the Lewis County Dairy Princess Program, you guys, the county, and other agricultural agencies within the county. And before I go on with the Naturally Dairy campaign, I just want to recognize Regan and the Lewis County Dairy Princess Group for being here today. She brought her quart with her. They were able to hand out chocolate milk and regular milk, and thank you, Ryan, for providing the cheese for today. So I just want to recognize them for all of their efforts. The Dairy Princess Group, they've already been attending a ton of events in the area to promote dairy, and they are going to be doing a lot more throughout the summer. So you're definitely going to be seeing Regan and her corps all around Lewis County a lot. So moving on with the Naturally Dairy campaign, this effort was kind of sparked at an agricultural agency meeting where a bunch of us get together once every 3 months to talk about ag in Lewis County. And we basically asked ourselves, what can we really do to help the dairy industry in the county? We can't necessarily help the milk prices, but what can we do to kind of bring back the pride and the morale in the dairy industry? So we came up with the Naturally Dairy campaign. The campaign obviously originated here in Lewis County, but it's going to work to show the North Country strengths in agriculture, highlight our hardworking farms, remind consumers of the benefits of dairy in a well-balanced diet, and educate the community on the impact that the dairy industry has on our overall economy. So we have created a Naturally Dairy website, which is linked off the Naturally Lewis website, and I'm going to scroll down here. Okay. So our intent here with the hashtag Naturally Dairy is to get the community members using that hashtag on their social media posts. And on our website here, you can see that we're really trying to encourage people to think local, shop local, buy local. So we have compiled a list of dairy plants and stores and processors that utilize Northern New York milk. And so when you're at the grocery store, kind of think about what type of dairy product are you purchasing? Is it local, meaning a lot of it is within New York State, or is it not local? On your dairy products, you can see if the code at the top has plant code number 36, that means it's from New York. I recently went shopping at Aldi's in Carthage. I bought a thing of half and half, and it actually had the plant code 36. So it was New York milk, and because I bought that, it's affecting our farmers here in Lewis County. We are also promoting the New York State Grown and Certified program. So if any of you buy your dairy products at the Stewart shops, for example, all of their dairy products are New York State Grown and Certified, which means they're from New York. So as you can see, we list just a bunch of information to consumers, to residents here in Lewis County. Each dairy month is going to have a theme. Lindsay will kind of get more into that. Different events listed, and also our Naturally Dairy Facebook page. So I encourage all of you to like the Naturally Dairy Facebook page. We're going to be really promoting Lewis County dairy farmers, events, dairy fun facts, things like that. We will also be utilizing our local media outlets, using the Lewis County Dairy Princess to attend different events and be kind of like our forefront promotion for the dairy industry. And we definitely look forward to working with them more.
So as Brittany mentioned, the campaign is a 7-month-long campaign. So we're starting in June and it's going to run until December. And every month has a different theme. And since June is considered National Dairy Month, we figured that was a good time to start. And we figured our monthly theme for June would be promoting Lewis County dairy products. So buying local products, understanding what that means, learning a little bit more about the importance of the dairy industry here in Lewis County and kind of the history of the dairy industry here as well. Some of our upcoming themes for future months are going to include generational stories on local family farms, a day in the life of a farmer. So we know that farmers work really hard, but let's learn a little bit more about that. How do they care for their animals? How do they care for the land? We're also going to do some fuel up to play where we have chocolate milk so that athletes can refuel after school sporting events. We also are going to have a month of cheese. So every day we're going to post about a different type of cheese that maybe you haven't heard of, maybe you haven't tried. And then we're also going to be talking in November, tying into Thanksgiving, why we're thankful for our local farms and really the impact that has on our community. We've touched a little bit about it today, but I think a lot of the public isn't aware of that and how important the dairy industry is to our economy here. And then our last month in December, we're going to end with celebrating the holidays with dairy. So whatever holidays you celebrate in December, make sure that dairy is on the table. So we'll be sharing recipes and different ways to incorporate dairy for the holidays. So as Brittany mentioned, we just want to encourage everyone here and everyone in the community to get involved. Check out the website, check out the Facebook page because we have a lot of upcoming events and they'll be posted there. Some of our most upcoming events include the Food Truck Fridays happening in Lowville. The first one will be June 29th and the Dairy Princess will be there. They'll be handing out different dairy products every month. And then we also have the 5K milk run / walk. That's on Saturday, June 30th. Sign up is already open online. The Dairy Princess Court has been doing a lot to get that up and running. It's the first of hopefully an annual event. So come on out, support local dairy producers. You can try some local products, meet some local farmers, and get active. So thank you.
Anyone have any questions? Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just a quick note on that. The county recently contracted with the IDA utilizing Brittany's expertise, and the hope is to, in this case, use the power of Facebook to help promote our local dairy industry. So we hope it's successful. Thank you. Next, we have a proclamation recognizing Lewis County Community Crisis Response Team efforts and availability. Sherry, would you read that, please?
The Lewis County Suicide Prevention Coalition supports those in the community who have lost a loved one to suicide and recognizes that death from drug and opiate overdose, in addition to other sudden traumatic losses, also presents risk of complicated bereavement for survivors. It is estimated that a median of between 6 and 32 survivors exists for each suicide, and approximately 7% of the U.S. population knows someone who has died by suicide in the last 12 months. When counting all drug-related deaths, not just deaths that medical examiner identified as an overdose, but any death where drugs were involved, the mortality rate in Lewis County increased by over 430% between 2000 and 2016. During the last 3 years, there have been over 20 local deaths with recorded causes of drug or opiate overdose. To further their efforts, the Lewis County Suicide Prevention Coalition has developed a community crisis response team that is available to provide supportive services to individuals, families, agencies, and businesses in Lewis County community who have experienced a recent sudden or traumatic loss. By responding to a request, the Community Crisis Response Team seeks to reduce the often overwhelming feelings of helplessness, confusion, and heightened anxiety that is normal following a traumatic loss. The Community Crisis Response Team firmly believes that individuals are resilient and that if offered support, interventions, and/or information, most individuals affected by a traumatic loss can heal without formal counseling or interventions. Now therefore, on behalf of the Lewis County Board of Legislators, I, Chairman Larry Dahlhoff, do hereby recognize the Lewis County Community Crisis Response Team and hereby proclaim that on June 5, the team is officially prepared to respond to those in need in our community. I call upon county department heads, various agency representatives, and local residents to participate in discussion that will help to assure those in need are knowledgeable of where and how to seek assistance and enable access to those services.
So I wanted to just take a minute and recognize Anna Platts and Crystal Collette, and they have other members in the group for their efforts in coordinating this supportive service to our community, and then also offer you guys an opportunity to ask any questions.
Do you want us to tell you a little bit more about the team, in addition to what was announced in the proclamation?
That would be helpful.
All right, yeah. So the Community Crisis Response Team, we, at the, Anna and I co-chair the Lewis County Suicide Prevention Coalition. And about a year ago, well, a year and a half ago, we received a small grant from the State Office of Mental Health to develop a response plan for individuals who've lost someone to suicide in our community. Anna works in public health, and I'm the social worker at Lewis County Hospice and our bereavement coordinator. So as a bereavement specialist, I've served at least a dozen folks who've experienced losses by suicide here in our community, and there's certainly unique bereavement needs that folks who have a loved one who's completed suicide experience. So in the process of putting together this team, we determined that because we're a small community, we wanted to respond to other types of losses as well, like intentional or unintentional drug overdoses, death by car accident, ATV, or snowmobile, and homicide in the community. We underwent some training and then got a small group together who really did the heavy lifting of putting together the team and working on what the team will look like. And a few of those folks are here tonight. Kay Larrabee, Ed Steckley, and Carla Hellinger. So we're ready to go, and we're ready to serve the community. Of course, we hope we don't have another sudden and traumatic loss soon, but we have been experiencing, as you heard in the proclamation, a drastic spike, like many across the nation have, in opiate and drug overdose losses, and suicide is a profound issue here in our community. So.
We aren't seeking out people to respond to, but we have developed a website. It's called www.lewislives.com/CCRT, Community Crisis Response Team. We're using that as our kind of home base where to turn people to if they have questions, comments, or concerns. And if an individual or a family or a business would like to activate the team, they will actually call the hospital switchboard. The switchboard then has Crystal's and my phone number, and we will utilize our wonderful group of volunteers and respond accordingly. Anything else we can add or clarify?
So you have seen a spike with the drug problem, suicide, and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, what's that statistic?
A 400%.
400% increase in mortality in our county since 2000.
Do you think it's peaked or do you think it's getting worse?
I'm not the person to answer that question. I don't work on the ground in the drug and alcohol field.
We know that after a loss occurs, the risk for another loss increases. So that's where we hope to prevent those deaths. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Next, we have Ryan Boucher to present the legislature survey results.
Well, you guys have paper copies in front of you, so we don't need to wait for that to warm up. But inspired by what the hospital has been doing with some of their generative discussions every month, and they've done a wonderful job really identifying a clear mission, a clear vision, and some goals of where they want that organization to go moving forward. I think that having been here almost a year now, that we could learn from them and spend some time, about 10-15 minutes each meeting, talking about the big picture, mission, goals, vision, where we want to be going forward. So the first step to that was sending out a survey to each of the board members, and we'll go through that real quick. Again, the goal is to identify some big picture items that we can focus on and maybe talk about how we can improve our process to get to where we want to be. So we can go through these results fairly quickly here. Question 1, what should be the top 5 most important values of Lewis County government? Your top 5 answers were fiscal responsibility, which all participants said should be a value, economic development, innovation and an openness to change, operational efficiency, and teamwork and cooperation. So what I'm hoping is that we can take those and turn them into a mission statement or a value statement that we can start putting in all of our materials, our budget, our agendas, everything that gets us focused moving forward before every meeting. Any comment on the other issues? Are we in agreement that these can be our top 5 that we'd like to use? There's some other good ones up there, but I think these, rise to the top here. Okay. Which of these community issues do you feel should be top 5 priorities for Lewis County government? So we've got our internal government issues and we've got our external community issues. Everybody said availability of good jobs. This is aging municipal infrastructure, which was surprising to me, but 5 out of the 7 that took the survey agreed that that should be one of our top priorities. The way we're operating now, we don't put a lot of resources into that. I mean, we've gotten some grants and stuff, but we haven't been a leader. So according to this, that's something that we can shift the way we're looking at things and try to put more resources into that avenue. Population loss, agricultural issues, and then we've got a tie for 4th year and 5th with drug and alcohol and property taxes. So, that gives us some room to move there, but any discussion on which of these 2 you'd like to be included, or can we kind of focus on them both the same? Because we're going to use these as our top 5 to hopefully develop some materials. But there's a tie, so.
Well, I think, Ryan, that they kind of work together, because if we try to keep property taxes at bay, that gives us less resources to put into the drug and alcohol addiction. So I think that really, they tie in together, and I think that's why you got a tie there. So
that's a good point. Everything we try to do more of is going to affect.
That's right, it's going to affect something else, so.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, we've got enough. We're heavy on fiscal responsibility throughout this whole thing, so we understand the value of property taxes, keeping them down. Which of these organizational issues should you feel should be top priorities? So this is our internal stuff, how we operate inside Lewis County government. Aging physical plant, fiscal management, obviously top categories there. We've talked a lot about our physical plant. We've put some resources towards getting studies on it. Now we've got to take the next step to actual, some action here. Health insurance costs. We've been working diligently on that with the union and the hospital. Increased voice in Albany. We can always do more here. We talked last night with the hospital about, some things that we know we can identify and work on. So interesting that this rose to the top as something that you guys want to spend, some more time on and being a little more vocal. Shared services with other jurisdictions. The governor would be happy to see you guys say that one. So that gives us some direction here that can push us forward. Lack of capital outlay, increased employee efficiency were some other ones that came in high, but these are our top 5 here. Let's see. Okay, for this one, I had to create my own chart here because SurveyMonkey doesn't help us out. So the question was, during Board of Legislator meetings, how would you assess the time spent discussing the following issues? By the way, these questions came almost directly from the hospital survey that they did with their board. This was one of their questions. And I made up some of our things that we talk about here. So we've got a scale here. It's tough to see, but you've got on the left stuff that the board in general thought that we don't spend enough time on. Then on the right, you've got things that you think we spend too much time on. Topics with more than $100,000 of value, we're spending maybe not enough time on. We got to talk more about our big expenses. Topics with less than $100,000 of value, maybe a little more time, but we're kind of in the range there. Day-to-day operations, we're not too far off from the just right amount of time, maybe a little too much time on day-to-day operations. Capital projects, not enough time. We got to spend more time talking on capital projects. Lewis County General Hospital, just about right, maybe a little more time you guys would like. Contracts, every single person said we're spending exactly the right amount of time, so that's good. Joan, way to go. Committee reports. Here's one that sticks out. Almost everybody said we're spending too much time on committee reports, so that's something to consider there. Resolutions, not much we can do about that, but we're spending about the right amount of time. Community development, community issues, goals and vision all stick out as things that you guys agree we don't spend enough time on, and they all go hand in hand. Our community development and issues and goals and vision all go together. So I think that gives us a little justification to try to start carving out some time every month to focus on those issues. Personnel issues, looks like we're spending a little bit too much time on that, according to the survey. And financial management, we want to spend more time on. Financial management's a theme that comes throughout this survey of things that we want, you guys want to focus more on. Okay, do you feel the legislators are adequately compensated for their time? Most of you feel that you are. That's good. 2 said that the salary should increase. Do you feel that the current legislative committee structure is appropriate? 2 said yes, 1 said no, 4 said there are too many committees. So that goes hand in hand with one of our other questions, which is, do you think this structure is conducive for folks with full-time jobs? And most of you said no. So the amount of committees is directly related to the amount of time we spend, So that might be something, you don't want to do it mid-year, but maybe January we look at restructuring the committee structure and trying to find a way that is a little bit more conducive for folks that have to work 40-hour jobs still. The Board of Legislators empowers the county manager and department heads with the autonomy necessary to fulfill their roles. 1 strongly agree, 3 agree. So most of you guys feel that Patty and me and Joan and Chris and department heads have our, enough room to run. A couple saying, neither disagree it's, or that, we need a little more autonomy. The county manager and department heads are responsive to the Board of Legislative requests. So mostly agree, but this is one where we've got to get to 100%. The whole board should know that when you come to us that, we're going to be respectful and responsive to your needs and try to get you back the information that you need. So we want to get that up to 100%. The Board of Legislators has a strategic vision of how the county should evolve over the next 3 to 5 years. again, this comes into our same theme about spending time on these issues. We've got, let's see, 6 out of 7 that took the survey disagree that we have a clear strategic vision. And to me, that points out that we need to address that, and justifies this time that we're going to spend on some of this stuff. The current meeting structure and time commitment is conducive for legislators that have full-time jobs. As I mentioned before, most people saying that we need to, that as it stands now, it's very difficult for you guys that have full-time employment to meet all the time commitments. So that shouldn't be. This should be a job that anyone can do. Not anyone can do, but anyone that has a full-time job. The Board of Legislators receive financial reports on a regular basis that are understandable, accurate, and timely. Again, we want to get this one to 100%, but for the most part, you guys feel that you're getting good information and good feedback on financial reports. The Board of Legislators are knowledgeable about the county's current programs and services. So to me, this speaks to the need for us to spend more time on educational stuff. Having department heads come in, and give presentations. It's tough. One of the reasons, it's tough when so many committees is you guys don't get exposed to the different aspects. If you had less committees, maybe you'd be exposed to more departments. So just another way to look at it. But it seems to me we need to maybe do some more basic, just, hey, here's what the public health department does. Here's what Office for the Aging does, and try to make you guys feel like you're more in the loop on this stuff. The Board of Legislators periodically considers adopting new programs and modifying or discontinuing existing programs. So again here, a little bit fading to the disagree, but mostly in the middle. That's something that is a huge part of the role of the legislator. Should be looking at our programs. What should we add? What should we take away? So we'll have to try to do a better job of spending more time on those issues. The Board of Legislators effectively represents and promotes Lewis County to state lawmakers. This goes back to our increasing our voice in Albany. You are dead split on this one, so it's right down the middle, but at least half feel that we need to spend more time on that and do a better job in Albany. The Board of Legislators currently contains sufficient range of experience and expertise to make it an effective governing body. Overwhelmingly, yes. That's good. Lewis County provides new legislators with a thorough orientation. Agree, disagree? Well, we're a little split there, and that's not good. So we've got to make sure that we're doing a better job, like we said, making sure you guys are knowledgeable on programs. We started in orientation, made it to about half our buildings, and then we stopped. So we probably need to pick that up again for the new folks. As a legislator, you are heard and considered when giving your opinion. Most agree, but 1 disagree, 2 in the middle. So on this, again, we need to get this to 100% where everyone feels that their opinion is heard and valued. Legislators receive clear and succinct agendas and supporting written materials sufficiently prior to board and committee meetings. I'm happy to see this is all, everybody agrees that we're meeting that threshold. Kudos to Terry and Cassandra and everybody that works up our agendas and our materials, that we're getting them out in a timely manner. Committee assignments reflect the interest, experience, and skills of the board members. About 50-50, 50 yes, 50 no. Board of Legislator and committee meetings are well organized, productive, and make good use of legislators' time. We've got mostly yes, but a few that disagree and strongly disagree. So, our goal is not to be wasting your guys' time. We've got to make sure we're using it properly, so we'll have to work on that as well. Describe at least one success. You guys can look through your packet and see what your peers said about some things that we've accomplished. JCC, solar, contracts, all good stuff that we've had going on in the last year. Describe at least one area in which you hope to see the Board of Legislators improve. Some communication stuff, economic development. We're not going to go through every comment. You guys have it in your packet there. You can look and see what your peers have said. Is there anything you think is hindering the effectiveness of the Board of Legislators? Some communication stuff here. But again, I'll let you guys go through and read those comments. This one doesn't help at all. I'm glad I asked the question, but doesn't give us an answer. Preferred start time for meetings. We're all over the place. So we'll just have to keep communicating and doing our best to accommodate everybody's schedule. And I think that's the last one. Additional comments, concerns, you guys can look at those. So next month, our goal will be to take some of these first few questions here that talk about values and goals and mission and how we allocate our time and resources and turn those into real mission statements, a real vision statement, and try to get behind some real themes that we want to drive home every single month when we're here together. So that's the goal. Questions, comments, concerns?
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to presentation and communications and notices. Terry.
Congresswoman Stefanik acknowledged receipt of this board's resolution in support of the Farm Bill for reauthorization of the U.S. Department of Ag that includes reforms to certain programs. The board acknowledges receipt of resolutions from the Cattaraugus, Livingston, and Seneca County legislatures in support of Senate Bill amending executive law in relation to the cost of maintenance and operation of county veteran service agencies. And that concludes communication.
Thank you. Reports of county officers and departments.
Legislators have each received copies of the Treasurer's May report, the May 22 and May 24 highway audit reports, May 1 and May 24 solid waste audit reports, and minutes of the February 20 Public Health Services Advisory Committee, April 17 Soil and Water Conservation District Board of Directors, and May 16 Youth Bureau Advisory Board meetings. And that concludes reports.
Thank you. Reports of standing committees. John, would you like to start, please?
Thank you. From DSS, Jennifer Jones. Heat cooling is open for applications. Cooling benefits are available based on medical and financial needs. They currently have 21 applications for cooling and 57 for clean and tune service and 11 for furnace repair and replacement. Foster parenting classes will be forming in September. Kelly Service will be hosting a recruiting event at the One Stop office every Tuesday in June. United Cerebral Palsy is hosting a recruiting event every Thursday from 10 to 12 at the One Stop for employment. No appointments are necessary for either one of these. Applications for the summer youth employment closed out on May 31st. Approximately 25 youth will be employed by Lewis County at various work sites this year. The Lewis County Youth Bureau awarded $5,000 to 3 projects. First project is Project Safe Community at Harrisville. They were awarded $1,270. Lewis County 4-H Teen Council was awarded $1,865. That'll be used for sending youth to Missouri for the 4-H Film Festival. The American Youth Soccer Organization was awarded $1,865 for new goalie equipment and soccer balls. And on last Thursday, I had an invitation to attend the 45th anniversary of Credo in Watertown, so I went down to that. And I was going to sit with the board of directors, but I run into a couple of people that are in the program. So I sat at their table, and I was glad I did. It was really informative. I talked to them and asked them questions. They were very open. One young gentleman said it's the 7th program he's been in, and it's by far the best program he's ever been in. So that made me feel kind of good. And I want to, is Pat still here? I want to thank her for getting me involved in this because it's been very educational, and I can see by sitting down and having meetings with these people that a lot of changes are being made up here. And I think it's for the better. And I think Leah's going to do a good job up there. Not trying to force it.
Thank you, John.
John, you do have one motion.
Yes, I do. I'm sorry. I have a motion from Jennifer Jones, the DSS Commissioner, to refill a permanent full-time employment and training specialist, social service program examiner, and community service worker position, effective immediately, due to resignation and promotions.
Moved by John, second by Jerry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? Forgot that part. Opposed? Motion carried. Randy, taxation, elections, information technology.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really have nothing of significance to report.
Primary date
What's that?
for elections, primary date, 26th of June,
Okay.
5 to 9.
I haven't met with anybody from elections. They don't come to that meeting.
They only come quarterly.
How am I supposed to report?
I'm just helping you out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Brian, county officers, veterans, junkyards, HR.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nothing really much to report on. We discussed in the HR meeting about the 3 motions that John brought up. There was a question brought up about why we're making motions and why we have to approve refill of vacancies that are in the budgets. So, I mean, that's something that the 10 of us probably should sit down and discuss. See if we're happy with the way that we're doing it now, or if we want to change that policy, give our department heads a little more autonomy on doing their jobs there. We discussed that a little bit. We discussed about the building superintendent search, which I am well aware that that's been in process. Highway superintendent will be coming up. Discussed the Community Cup, some Olympics, what was going on with that. And then we went over the employee survey also. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Brad. Any questions for Brad?
Are we each going to get a copy of that employee survey? Do believe.
If you want
so,
one.
Greg. If you want one, and I think we were going to discuss it more at our meeting this month. I do believe.
You guys had asked for some additional data digging on some topics, and Chris and I have done that, and we've got that ready for you guys for the next meeting. And then tomorrow, we'll be going over it with department heads. We went to the committee first, like we talked about, then to department heads, and then they'll have the opportunity to look at their data by department and see if there's some things that stick out department by department. So we'll continue to utilize that tool, try to derive some changes from it. We don't want to have employees spend time on this and then nothing comes of it. We got to show that we've heard what they're saying and try to make some improvements. But yes, you can get a copy.
Did answer your question, didn't you?
Sorry.
Yes, you all should be getting that copy. Andrea, John, and I brought up some questions and some different data that we wanted, where the answers were coming from. So we were going to be presenting that. And now after we had this meeting, I didn't realize they set up a meeting with the department heads already.
Well, we don't have to do it tomorrow.
Well, no, if you already have a schedule, that's fine. So
We always meet the day after this.
So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Brian. Gary, Ways, Means, Buildings and Grounds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We was hoping to have some information on our, excuse me, buildings, what we could do with them as far as maintenance and stuff like that, but as we all know, some other stuff has come up. So that's kind of been put on hold till we figure that out. There'll be some resolutions in the packet that I'll gladly discuss, with you or answer questions. And we still are on the search going through the stuff for the buildings and grounds. So we haven't made a decision yet.
Questions for Gary? Thank you, Gary. Tom, Public Health and Community Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess on the public health side, committee meeting on that last month, Penny encouraged the public to contact public health to inform them of any dead wild animals that appear sick or strange acting. The animals may then be picked up and tested for USDA Wildlife Service. Legislator Lehman asked for the media publication to inform the public what to do when they encounter a dead animal. Lewis County Public Health did not apply for the next round of cancer service program funding due to the requirement to serve a 4-county region. 2 other CSP contractors will be applying for the region. Lewis County will close out the cancer services program pursuant to state guidelines at the end of December. The Lewis County Program Coordinator may transition to the new 4-county contractor. Children with Special Needs Program has 113 children registered for the preschool program. Penny estimates that there may increase to 120. This program equates 60% of the overall county share. On the Community Services Department, they just completed their 2019 local services plan. One of the primary responsibilities of community services under the mental hygiene law is to develop and annually submit a local services plan to each New York State mental hygiene agency. The mental hygiene agencies are the Office of Alcohol and Substance Abuse, the Office of Mental Health, and the Office of People with Developmental Disabilities. The plan establishes the local priorities, needs, and outcome for the community services in the coming year and the metrics used to measure the outcome. The local plans are approved by the Community Services Board, which comprise of local service providers, consumers, and other community members, and are subsequently submitted, approved, and certified by the state agencies. The plan was created using information about the county and identified needs of those who are served by our mental health, substance abuse, and development disability providers. These are the goals that were identified: improve transportation options for the consumers, attract qualified and sufficient workforce to serve our community, reduce opiate use, establish strategic partnerships between school districts and available services. The plan is in review and then ongoing by the Community Services Board and its subcommittees. And that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions for Tom?
Can you explain the impact to the citizens about that cancer closing out? I'm not sure I understand what that's about. It sounds like we're going to close out a plan that's specific to Lewis County.
Penny,
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Every county will still be covered by the Cancer Services Program. This is the screening for certain types of cancer: colorectal, breast, cervical. So Lewis County will still be served. It's just that with the change to have to serve a 4-county region, it didn't make sense that a government entity would do that, where we really only serve Lewis County. We have always, since we've had the grant under public health here, we served Jefferson and Lewis because that was a requirement at that time. But when it went to 4 counties, it was just going to take so many more resources than we might be able to cover under the grant. But citizens in Lewis County will still have access to the program. That it should be a seamless change. I'm pleased that the lead agency that's applying is an experienced cancer service program provider now. They'll be subcontracting with the provider that runs the grant in St. Lawrence County. So between the 2 of them, I think they'll do a good job for the 4-county area. Public health will make sure, and we've already done that, providing our list of providers in Lewis County that are contracted for that program, so that should be seamless as well. We should have the same options for providers for our community members here in Lewis County. So hopefully, it will go well. Of course, there'll be some hiccups along the way, but we'll do everything we can at Public Health to help Lewis County folks get where they need to go for that program.
And what are the 4 counties, just so?
Jefferson, Lewis, St. Lawrence, and Oswego.
Oswego. Thank you.
Yeah.
Will you be involved in it once you have a patient that needs to be referred to make sure
they get through or at least have been looked at? Is there gonna be like a follow-up with us, or you just send them over and?
We will make sure that the referral is received by the new cancer service program coordinator, contractor, and that they get, we won't do a whole lot in terms of follow-up, but that is really the core of that program, is tracking people through the system. So our staff person right now who does that, she's well-versed and probably will be hired by them to continue serving Jefferson and Lewis County. So that continuity will make a big difference in both with our providers and with our consumers.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Penny.
Thanks, Penny. Move on to Ron with Economic Development, Planning, Forestry, and Parks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing new to report at this time.
Thank you, Ron. Greg, Courts and Law Enforcement, Emergency Management.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Probation, Mary Jo was there. We continue to discuss the raise the age. We have to have a contract on the plate by 10/1 for if there is age limit, youth 16 years of age. So, because of the raise the age, we do have the non-secure detention for 16-year-olds. So that's all taken care of, lined up. The other one isn't, because there's no place to send them yet. It's kind of being hung out there in the state government, so we'll let Andy take care of it. The sheriff, this is the good thing that Brian reported at the committee, that we claimed 100% of the available state funding for reimbursement for snowmobile patrols. It was historically rural reimbursement request before that, so this year we got it. The sheriff informed us of an emergency room doctor directed a helicopter transport of an inmate to upstate, and it looks like it's going to, the estimated cumulative expense is going to be $59,000 for that expense. The sheriff also requested, because of throughway tolls, give me easy pass options for the cars that are going transporting inmates. And Ryan's going to take care of that with the P-card accounts when they get finalized. And that's pretty much it for my minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Questions for Greg? Thank you, Greg. Moving on to Dick with hospital.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. First up, we've got Mrs. Gina Buckingham, RN. She's the employee of the month for April. We want to see Gina, please congratulate her. Under the auxiliary, the scholarship committee of the auxiliary granted $15,000 in scholarships to local students. That action happened just before our board meeting, so at the end of June, we'll have more information on that, and I will pass that along in our July meeting. Finance update. We had a gain of $28,995 for April, compared with a budgeted gain anticipated of $83,366. Our year-to-date surplus is $319,819 versus a budgeted surplus of $307. So we're following pretty much what we had budgeted. Our overall gross patient revenue was higher than anticipated in inpatient, outpatient, and physician office areas. Total approximately $12.4 million. It's one of our all-time highs for those areas. The inpatient area also experienced additional revenue of about $74K. Med surgical supplies increased due to the number of surgeries, but that's good news because then we have money coming in to pay for that. Outpatient revenue was higher, especially in the OR, approximately $229,000, as more surgeries were done during the month of April. Our overall expenses were slightly higher than budget because of some of these growth areas. On a sad and happy note, Mr. Gary Turk presented a resignation to the Board of Managers, and it will be effective the 30th of June. We've granted that. We went out for canvas of the community for someone to replace Gary. We had one applicant. I would hope if more people want to come out and provide public service, that when they see in the paper an announcement, it only takes a short 2 or 3 sentences to explain what you could do for the board, what tools you could bring to help us out, and I'd like to see more people. But on that note, Mrs. Sue Ross, who's a prior employee of the hospital for I think 30+ years, she's now retired, was the applicant. Our committee discussed it, and you'll see a resolution tonight to commit Sue for the rest of Gary's term, which goes to mid-2020, I believe. The Lewis County Hospital Foundation's annual golf tournament will be Friday, June 15th at the Branningham Golf Course. Joanne Rubark, Executive Director, is in charge. 315-376-5110. You can also call the switchboard 376-5200 and they will transfer. Barring any questions, that completes my report.
Questions for Dick? Thank you, Dick. Andrea, Transportation and Solid Waste, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I would like to announce that David Becker announced his retirement date as of July 26th of 2018. And I'm very sorry to see him go because I'm new on this committee. But I wish him...
Did we rip that up?
Can we vote on that?
Oh, did we rip it up? But
it's in the shredder with Frank Archers.
Okay, there'll be cold mix paving on Whitesville Road next week. David is working on a multi-model grant from Assemblyman Blankenbush's office to cover the cost of the Burdick's Crossing Road culvert. And I think he completed that today. Jordan Falls Road Bridge replacement will begin July 17th. Okay, now for solid waste. There is a DACA tonight, and that is to increase the tipping fee of $5 a ton and or 25 cents for individual bags. With the recycling market prices being down, we paid Oneida Herkimer a little over $2,000 for March and a little over $1,000 for April. It is common for prices to run light in the spring, but we are hopeful the market will rebound for the summer months. And that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Questions? Great.
I got a question for you, Andrea. On the solid waste one, see you're building in a 2% annual increase on tipping fees for 2019 and 20?
We did talk about that, yes.
Well, it's in this resolution.
Yes.
So you're building in increases, automatic increases, even though you might not necessarily need to increase them?
Oh, you're gonna need to. Costs are going up every year. We're losing money.
We can always waive them, I think.
We can waive them, Greg. We talked about that. We figured just put them in place, and if the recyclable market does increase and we have a glut, you know, a surplus on that end of it, then we could just waive them fees for that year. But we figured we'd build them in now, and then that way it gives all your haulers and everything a chance to prepare in advance.
Well, basically, it's to the taxpayer though that you're gonna just
Well,
automatically increase. That's how it looks.
I speak to the taxpayers now, Greg. You're either gonna hit them with fees up there, or you're gonna raise taxes to cover the losses. It's either way you're gonna pay.
I don't know where these losses keep coming up.
Well, it comes up because the recyclable market's down, Greg. The only thing that you
we
have
also
for,
got
the only thing you have for revenue base right now is your garbage tipping fees going up. Right now, the recyclable market's down, the China market's down, and following it worldwide, there is no money in recyclables right now. The warehouses are full. I deal with a gentleman that hauls it down to Albany. Casella's warehouses are full down there. They cannot get rid of them. St. Lawrence County is paying $78 a ton to get rid of their recyclables right now. So we actually are in pretty good shape compared to other counties.
Well, we're also getting help from Dane too. Every time.
Well, fine, but we're still in better shape than the counties around us.
Yeah. And this has nothing to do with the recyclables though. You're increasing the.
I understand that, but if you have $500,000 in general, in our fund up there right now, we just dipped in $100,000 to cover the cost of the recyclables right now. If we keep losing on recyclables, you're gonna keep drawing out of that fund. Eventually, you're gonna have to raise the tipping fees to cover them costs. So if we do it in small increments at 2% on the garbage end of it, we can stop a large increase. Plus, we're also looking at trying to do more efficiencies up there too. So we're checking into that.
Plus we got equipment.
I agree with Matt.
Jerry?
That losses, is that including, there's so much a ton down there, but is that including the trucking and stuff too?
Yeah, that's the total cost of what it is that we lose right now, Jerry. So, and we truck it down there more efficiently than anyone else around here does because we have compactor trailers. If you use the Alpha top, you get half the tonnage on these trailers, and it costs even more than what
I know, I was on the committee when we did the compacting trailers. So I'm just like, why can't we just increase it yearly, not build it all in at once? But you know,
I didn't see where, I think it's yearly, Greg. Isn't it a 2% increase yearly for the next couple, 3 years, correct?
Yep.
So it isn't all one shot, it's yearly.
No, it's yearly, but $5 this year or something.
Yeah.
And then 2% increases each year after that.
So now most of the local haulers, from what they've talked to Pete, and Andrew can correct me if I'm wrong, most of the local haulers aren't going to pass any of that cost on to their customers because they're taking in more recyclables. It's not costing the haulers anything to dump the recyclables up to the recycling center. Okay? They're hauling less garbage, they're hauling more recyclables. So the local haulers aren't passing that on. Now, whether or not the big contractor is, Casella or any of the other larger ones, that directly the landfill is going to pass it on, I don't know. But the local haulers have spoken to Pete and said that they did not plan on passing it on to the customers as of now. So,
just to add to that, Brian, if you look at the solid waste fund as an enterprise fund, meaning the tip fees basically have to cover operation costs. When we have 2% increase for salaries, our health insurance has gone up, as we know, much higher than 2% a year. We have to do something on the other side to cover those costs because we're not using taxpayer money to bail out that fund. It's the only revenue they get is from the tipping fees.
But we haven't looked for efficiencies when we set this up. We've ignored it. We've stayed with the same old process. So I guess what I would ask is to look for these efficiencies because the more you handle the garbage, the more it costs you. So if you can cut that out, you're farther ahead. So with this increase needs to come efficiencies.
and we discussed that last week, Jerry.
Okay.
And I told you that when I talked to you
Yeah.
this month, so.
Jerry, you have a motion?
Yeah, what we'd like to do is I'd like to make a motion to go out to RFP bid on JCC project for site, utilities, structure, tech, and specs. And the RFP is developed by CNS Engineering. When it comes back in, we'll review it, the committee, get together with the county attorney and move it forward if everything's correct. So I'd like to make that a motion if I could.
Motion on the floor, do I have a second? All right, discussion.
Where are we at looking at project managers?
We have, if I can jump in for a second, excuse me. We've contacted the gentleman whose name you gave me. If you guys would like to set up a presentation by him, we can. As we discussed before, CNS has in their contract $90,000 for project management. We'd have to replace that line item with an outside, source if that's what you wanted to do. I haven't done anything more than reach out to the gentleman and waiting for a cue from the board on how to proceed on that. On the big picture with JCC, the reason that we don't have the RFP to approve in front of you guys right now is because on Thursday we're meeting with Dave Becker and Frank Archer and the CNS engineers to go over the final list of what we can do in-house and what needs to go out to bid. So we're trying to pull some things like gravel purchasing and delivery and compacting. We think we can use our paving contract for the parking lot, you know, the water line installation. Some of those things we can do a heck of a lot cheaper ourselves, even paying overtime, than, you know, sending it out to bid in the private sector. So we're looking at exactly what parts of the project are going to go out to bid and what parts we're going to try to accomplish in-house. So we don't have that 100% worked out yet, but our schedule, if you'll recall, was to have the RFP out to bid by June 15th, which we remain on schedule for.
The piece that's missing is right
So I'd like to
now.
have them come and do the presentation, it ain't gonna cost us something.
Can we set that up?
Okay, that's all, faster.
So just, we can have that guy come in and talk about what services he can provide, but we would have to do an RFP for everybody to have a chance, you know, anyone who's in that business to have a chance. But if we know someone that we like that can give us an idea of what the services is, then we can have them come present.
Thank you, Ryan.
Ryan?
I have a question. I noticed in the stuff that you emailed us about the project, that there was some costs that were higher than what we expected. So within the $4 million that we're budgeting, are we going to be able to stay within there? And is it the money that we're getting for Senator Griffel's office included in that $4 million, or is that above it and beyond it to use for extra stuff?
The $250 million currently is not included, or I'm sorry, $250,000 is currently not included because we don't know if we're going to get it or not.
Okay.
Once we know on that, and by then we'll know the project cost, we can know to what, you know, to what extent it's going to go, you know, eat into the $4 million or is going to cover costs above. Now, like I said, I think I sent you guys an email on Friday. The costs have come in a little, the estimated construction costs have come in a little bit higher than what we had hoped. Thus, why we're trying to get with Frank Archer and Dave to try to skin down these costs. I've also talked with the Ways and Means Committee about that. They've looked at the cut sheets there. Well, I don't know if I've got with Craig yet, but with Dick and Gary, we've looked at them. So I think just based on gravel and paving and compacting gravel and the water line, we were able to save quite a bit. You know, there's silly stuff, seeding and landscaping. Soil and Water agreed to do the seeding for us at no cost. You know, we've got to go line by line and see what we can peel before we send out that RFP, and try to get it down as close as we possibly can to that $4 million.
Thank you.
We're trying.
Nick?
We jump from
Yeah, we're all over the
Yeah, and then we came back to Jerry. I just have one more comment on the fees, the 2%. I have no problem with raising them this year. I don't like an automatic 2% for this reason. It's too easy to just say, yeah, let's raise them 2%, rather than take an honest look at where we need to raise them. And if we have to raise them more than 2%, you're locked in at 2% where you can, you know, then you got to have another resolution to undo the 2% and go above it. So just my thought on it. I have no problem with it. And I think if you didn't have that automatic 2%, then we'd get an explanation of the rationale for raising the rates next year. And I think that's healthy for everybody to know that.
Well, I think the goal was to try to reduce the amount of resolutions that was necessary. We can certainly amend that resolution if that's the will of the board to remove that 2%, and then we can review it on an annual basis.
That's all I'm thinking.
If that's what.
And you may need to. I mean, you don't know it. None of us know what's going to happen in the next couple of years.
Well,
just a thought.
We should do that when we get to that resolution.
Sure.
I sort of lost track. Were you finished, Andrea? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a motion. We have a motion and a second, and JCC RFP.
You finished that yet? Either?
No. Well, they didn't cast them all.
So Jerry made the motion on JCC. Do I have a second?
Yes, somebody over there. So.
Okay, discussion. More discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to county manager report. Ryan, are you tired of talking yet, or you want to keep going?
Didn't like some of you guys report that we spent too much time on committee reports. We already talked about JCC. The solar project is complete. you'll see the display downstairs in the lobby that Frank and his team, put up. It looks really, really nice and shows exactly how much we're producing and how much we're saving at any given moment, which is really neat. I was able to spend some time on Thursday evening and Friday in Syracuse with the county managers throughout the state. And we talked about all the hot topics: raise the age, indigent defense, which we're going to have to be talking more about in courts and law, and state reimbursements and what's going on in Albany. And all I can say is that we're not alone. Every county has these same challenges. We're all trying to get through the same stuff. And it was nice to commiserate and learn from my counterparts in the other parts of the state. I just want to give a shout out to the Wellness Committee in Lewis County that had the brainchild and executed our first annual Community Cup. It was incredibly well attended. We had 6 teams. The South Lewis School District did end up winning, so next year we've got to work hard to bring the cup back to the courthouse, or at least somewhere in the county organization. So kudos to them, and it was a fun week and a great job. So that's my report.
Thank you.
Right. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I haven't had time to look at the solar thing. Can you give us a quick synopsis? When the sun is really shining, are we producing what we think we should be producing?
Yeah, when the sun is really shining, actually, if you go down there and look on a good day, it's over 2 megs. I mean, we're really cranking it out. They've had some issues early with having to replace some components or something. Converters. So you'll see it, it's a nice bell curve. As the sun comes up, it gets hotter and hotter, and then as it goes down, it fades. But on the right-hand side, you can see it shows how many trees would need to be planted to, make up for the carbon dioxide if this energy had been produced in a non-clean way. It shows the number of gallons of water that is saved if it had to run through a coal plant to cool the plant and those types of things. It shows us exactly, how much we're saving the environment, not only financially, through these projects. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah, I'm more interested in the I read the trees and the water and all that stuff. I just wanted to know if our money estimates are close. Thank you.
Yeah.
If you open that up to the schools, Ryan, like with some of the classes to show them, do displays for them.
We haven't thought of that. We were supposed to display it to all of our North Country counties for our Lewis County's turn to host the monthly county joint meeting, but they canceled on us. So
I was just thinking of environmental classes. You'd probably be very interested in that, showing how, like you just explained.
yeah, that's cool.
Isn't there a way to reach that through our?
Well, actually, you know what? Now that you think of that, Frank is working on the summer classes that we help sponsor, and part of that is renewable energy. I forget exactly what the theme is there, but that might not be. I think we are going to a solar field one of the days, maybe.
Well, they're going to be working with a greenhouse and dealing with solar and basically technology to have a smart greenhouse. So it'll be part and parcel of it.
Yeah. Yeah, any school that wants to come in, I mean, it's a public lobby. We'd be happy, Frank would be happy to give them a tour.
No problem, anytime.
I just thought you could send an invite to all the local schools and just tell them what it is.
Anything else for Ryan? If not, we'll move on to Patty with the town treasurer report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have the balances for the month. Special legislative contingency is at $76,675.96. Contingency is at $349,457.23. Capital data processing is at $98,360.76. Capital equipment highway share $158,431.24. County share $372,987.17. Sales tax to date, $3,218,938.54. We did take a little dip, but the last month, April, did pop back up again, so we're heading in the right direction. Hospital repayment on time, so balance due $700,000. Internal service fund. I did just receive the April report today, and it did take a little bit of a dip, but because of the stop loss and reimbursement, we did recover some of that, so the fund balance, as you can see, is at $2.9 million. And that's all that I have, unless anybody has any questions for me.
Thank you, Patty. Questions?
April was down 300 or something, is that what this is?
Yes.
20 cents.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm not sure what the intent here was. We have Mike and Jerry from the hospital. Do we want to have that discussion before we do resolutions, or wait until after?
For the IGT?
Yeah. Okay.
I think if there's any questions when we get to the resolution, Jerry and Mike might be able to help us, unless there's other, issues you guys want to discuss with the hospital.
Okay, we can wait till that resolution. Report of the Ways and Means Committee for Rule 7, Terry.
Sarah, do you want to close the public hearing for that?
Is there anyone that would make a comment on the public hearing, providing for increases of salaries for certain local officials? If not, I will close that public hearing now.
The Ways and Means Committee reports that they've examined the claim submitted for payment in the total amount of $892,479.17 and recommend that they be audited and allowed for the amounts claimed. It's signed by the entire committee. Need a motion.
Somebody like to move that? John, second by Dick. Discussion, in favor? Opposed? Carried.
First resolution is auditing and allowing the claims in the total amount of $892,479.17.
Moved by Brian, second by Greg. Discussion, in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Burns?
Yes.
Chartrand?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Colzer?
Yes.
LaChose?
Yes.
Lehman?
Yes.
Mowerhand?
Yes.
Mosier?
Yes.
Osborne?
Yes.
Dalhoff?
Yes.
Adopting and treating local law number 1, increase to salaries for certain local officials.
Moved by Jerry, second by John. Discussion, in favor?
Roll call.
Again.
Burns?
Yes.
Chartrand?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Colzer?
Yes.
LaChose?
Yes.
Lehman?
Yes.
Mowerhand?
Yes.
Mosier?
Abstain.
Osborne?
Yes.
Dalhoff?
Yes.
To transfer funds, legislative department.
Moved by Jerry, second by Randy. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 191 has been withdrawn due to language changes. 192, appropriate funds, fire and emergency management.
Moved by Jerry, second by Tom. Discussion. In favor? Opposed? Carried.
To appropriate funds, transportation department.
Moved by Randy, second by Ron. Discussion. In favor? Opposed? Carried.
And number 194 is transfer county matching fund reimbursement for Lewis County General Hospital IGT funds. I would just want to note that in paragraph number 4, you have a date there. It says to make an additional payment to the state of $3.9 million by June 26, 2017. That should be 2018.
You got a different copy.
Moved by Jerry, second by Dick. Discussion. In favor? Opposed? Carried.
Appointing member to Lewis County General Hospital Board of Managers, Susan Ross.
Moved by Andrea, second by Randy. Discussion. In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing and ratifying revisions to MOU agreement between the county and JCC for building an educational center.
Moved by Gary, second by Ron. Discussion.
When does Jefferson County do their thing on this?
June 12th.
If I could hear you. What was your question?
Jefferson County still has to vote on this ratification stuff.
JCC board is voting on it tonight or tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
And then
Tomorrow.
Jefferson County will ratify it June 12th at a special meeting.
I just wanted to know when. I knew it was coming. I didn't know when.
We never did ask for too many questions on that IGT.
Right.
Do what?
Nobody seemed to want to ask any questions on that IGT money.
You have?
3.9.
We spent 4 hours.
No, but I mean for the public.
I asked if there was discussion.
Yeah, but I was helping Dick Flynn to 2018 error. Just so they could have, you know, I mean, I think it would be.
You want to go back to that?
Why don't you finish?
Mr. Chairman, you've got resolution number 196 on the table. You've got first and second, we don't need a vote.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Now, we want to go back to IGT?
Well, I was just thinking that they can answer some of the why it happened or how it happened, you know.
Short-term answer, if I can. The state and the federal government pass on money to hospitals like ours to cover costs that they don't get. They redid the formula. We had 2 of the best people that I know of there last night to try to explain that to us, and they couldn't figure out where some of the numbers came from. The bottom line is, we're getting extra money on a 1-to-1 match. So the state gives us money, and the county matches the state money, so the hospital gets the full amount of the money. So it's a pretty good deal as far as bringing money in to help cover. Normally, there was about a 20% change.
Federal government, that's.
From the federal government.
Federal goes to the state, all right, and the state passes to us.
Yeah,
Well, all the state is passed.
Right,
It's
passes,
federal.
right.
Right, but all the states in the United States don't pass that cost on to their local governments when they did research on it.
Yeah, no,
The state can charge us up to 60% by federal law, according to federal law. So my question is, because our great state government increased Medicaid services, so is this part of the driving point why this audit has come up? And I also read research that some states, and New York State's one of them, that have found a loophole that they're charging for more services than what it was actually meant for. And it's a way for them to gain a loan from the federal government and get more money out of the Medicaid system from the federal government. And New York State is one of 13 states that's doing that.
Our understanding is that the state raised the cap on their own. No one knows what formula they used. They raised it. It's not an attempt by the state to get more money out of the federal government, because the federal government caps what they give us. We don't get more money than what the federal government had. We have a very liberal Medicaid program. We're one of the most expensive in the country, there's no question about it. But the federal government establishes what each state gets.
Well, and I understand that. But they also pointed out, the article that I read, that New York State's one of the states. There's some services that I'd have to read the article to you, quote it specifically, but they found a loophole to gain more out of that stays underneath the cap, Mike, to get more payments than what you normally would.
I don't think that affects our payments. That may go to the state. The state of New York, years ago, got punished by the federal government because they put expenses that had nothing to do with Medicaid in to get reimbursed. And the Fed came and slapped their hands and back billions of dollars. And now the state is using, as you say, loopholes. That's not what's in effect here. The state raised the cap for the uncompensated costs that we had. It used to be capped to something, and they raised it to $4 million for the year, for the first year that we have here, without anyone knowing about it. Our expenses went up because our auditors found that there were compensated expenses that hadn't been included by our previous audit, basically clinic expenses. And they included those, and they raised it, but no one expected that we were going to recover for that because it was above the cap that the state had established. And then, Jerry, I think I'm right, the state then increased the cap without telling anybody.
No, and I understand that part. And that's fine, I mean, there's nothing we can do about it, it's like a double-edged sword.
It's unfortunate that the state and the feds can't figure out their rules. And as our auditor pointed out yesterday, they don't even have a formula to tell us how we can figure out the cap. If we had a formula, then we could at least plan in the future.
Right.
Instead, they seem to pull figures out of the air, out of midair, as far as we can tell. Is that right, Jerry?
Correct. And another compounding factor, not only did they do it for the 1 year, they brought 3 years together, which is really driving the final number that you're seeing in the resolution.
Yeah. Usually it's 1 year because if we don't get audited, it takes them 3 years.
Right.
And this, for some reason, they picked 3 years, and they actually picked 2 years, skipped a year, and then did the third year. There's 1 year in the middle that they didn't include. So we have no idea what's going on with that.
And I know there's nothing we can do about it, but it just...
And while we're on that discussion, once we kind of get somewhat of a handle on it, we're not going to be able to go year after year back in our fund balance. We're going to have to pass some of this on to the taxpayers in the fall. So, you know, we might as well, when we get in the budget season or even...
Well, that's kind of why I brought this.
We're going to have to do it. Yeah.
I brought this up.
We can't live off the fund balance.
We're going to have to dip, we're going to take $3.9 million out of the fund balance.
Yeah.
Pay this bill.
Mr. Chairman, can I also be heard on this? I also want to add, and Patty probably can give you better numbers, we also will have another payment under IGT in October, and we also have IGT payments for the nursing home that we did budget for, and hopefully those are going to stay within what we had budgeted for, but this is not the only IGT obligation that's going to come up this year.
Right, that we did not budget for.
So can I just give a quick financial overview on the IGT, what we've got now and what we're expecting? What we're talking about today is $3.97 million. That's going to catch us up from the state's 2014-15, well, basically the 3-year audit, missing year 15-16. So that's 3-year catch-up. We do know that we expect our regular IGT letter in October, but now that we know that the cap is increased, we know that that's going to be more. So we know that that's going to be about another $2.3 million in October. And we always have our $1 million nursing home IGT, that doesn't change, that's the same. So you're talking of about a total of $7.5 million. We budgeted left 1.2, which would have been normal for us. And so out of fund balance over the next 6 months, 8 months, we're talking about $6.2, $6.3 million total from the fund balance. But moving forward with this new cap, assuming that it stays the same as the 2014 number, that means we've got to come up with roughly another $1.2 million for next year's budget. So that already puts us in a situation where, well, you guys know the drill. You either increase taxes, cut spending, or take from savings. So that's basically where we're going to be going forward. But as Jerry has said, and we talked about yesterday, the hospital's in a situation now where they're more financially sound than they've ever been. We're in a very strong position over there, and there's lots of reason to be optimistic about, you know, the future of our two organizations working together. So yes, it's a bit of a hit right now, but they've got the funds to do some things that will set them on a path of financial security where we don't have to, you know, carry such a large fund balance and worry so much about the hospital, and I really feel good about, you know, how they're operating right now.
Our fund balance right now today is what, Patty?
13 million.
So we got 13 million in our fund balance right now.
but by the end of the year, we're down to
7.
7. So where do we make up all that fund balance?
You don't.
You don't.
Yeah.
So, and I agree with you that the hospital, to be optimistic, everyone up there is doing a great job. But all it's gonna do is take a hit on this funding that we get every year, a big hit on that, and it wipes all that out.
Well, yeah, I mean, what are we talking about, the 1.2? And I know it's premature, but we know you're coming back again for another few million in X amount of time. I mean, what are we talking about just covering the difference, not the back payments, but the increase?
That's the 1.2.
So what is it for a tax increase across the board? I mean, is it like a 7 or an 8?
I would say an 8 or 9%
Okay,
increase.
so we're talking about 9 there, plus we've tried to hold the cap, which is gonna shoot that out in orbit. So, and we're at the point that with everything else we got going, it may be more than that before it's said and done, speaking honestly.
Yeah, we still have increasing health insurance costs, so there's other things to consider.
But we probably won't be able, I mean, we can't budget enough at tax time to put that $6 million fund balance back. It's taken us damn near 12 to 13 years to get where we're at. I mean, it was, you got a little bit left over, you save it. You know, we used it for capital projects. We didn't do the capital projects. Some of it was generated for windmills because we figured if we used the run day-to-day budget, that when that disappears, if it does, then we got to come up with that money too. So we will probably have a little bit of surplus, but it's not going to be the figures we had before. I mean, we've been roughly 800,000 that we could put away. So it's going to take you quite a few years plus that increase to get back where we were, if that's our intentions. So we're going to have some stuff to pass on in the fall. You know what I mean? No way around it. So.
I mean, I'm a taxpayer. I'm not willing to take on another $250 hit on my county taxes. And I don't believe my wife would either. It's getting ridiculous. So I think there's a lot of decisions of things that we need to start talking about here. I really do.
And I think we, you know,
and I'm in better shape than a lot of residents in this county are. So
I think we had some discussions. I mean, we started back and forth like we have in the past, and I look forward to having more of those discussions with the hospital. You know, I think it's important, and you know, I appreciate it. See what we can figure out to make everything kind of balanced. So that's it. I'll run my mouth enough. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
Okay, where do we leave off, Jerry?
197.
To transfer funds, Office for the Aging.
Moved by John, second by Randy. Discussion. In favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Authorize extension amendment to agreement between the county and Bergman Associates.
Moved by Ron, second by John. Discussion. Jerry?
There's their 10% share on this one.
No, this is just extending the term of the,
Okay, it's already.
it had expired, so we wanted to extend the Bergman Associates agreement to correspond with the
Okay,
term of the borough.
we've got it, just hasn't been spent.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
They're not quite done with the work there, Jerry.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing extension amendment to agreement between the county and New York State Department of State for the Brownfield Opportunities Area Strategy Grant for the Village of Lyons Falls.
Moved by Ron, second by John. Discussion?
Is this got another, do we have to kick in the other 10% to get it to 100?
It's the same amount, just
It's the same.
extending the length of the boat, the time frame.
It's just the budget, it's a, budget.
Yeah, it's awarded 550 and represents 90% of 615. So,
No changes.
so we are kicking the other 10%.
This is there are no changes to the overall budget. It's just kind of, it's a finalization of the budget and a redirection of some of those existing funds to finish up our site investigations on 2 sites. But it's still within the existing parameters of the budget that was approved originally.
And I believe the 10% was an in-kind match, wasn't it?
Yes, and we track that on a daily basis, depending on who's putting in what time, anywhere from the county manager's time to my time to Joan's time. So we keep track of all of
that. Anything further? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing grant with New York State Department of State for a Central Lewis County Regional Water Program.
Moved by Jerry, second by Tom. Discussion?
We go back and ask the village if they wanted to join with us, as we discussed with month.
They've been sent a letter.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To appropriate funds, Planning Department.
Moved by John, second by Brian. Discussion? In favor? Opposed? Carried.
Accepting NYSERDA grant, award funding and authorizing agreement for same for the New York State Clean Energy Communities Program.
Moved by Jerry, second by Randy. Discussion?
Frank.
Frank, this is yours, right?
Yes, this
This 100,000, that's gonna cover all that, that's gonna cover the lighting and all the buildings?
Yes, we have some preliminary proposals that we had to obtain in order to put the grant together to prove that that was the amount of funding that was going to be expended for the grant. So yes, now we'll go out to as soon as the contract's finalized, then we'll go out to formal RFP for the contractor to do the installations.
So that'll cover them all, right?
Yes.
Thanks, Frank.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing an agreement with Larry and Lucy Green for non-security detention facility.
Moved by Brian, second by Jerry. Discussion?
What does this actually do?
This houses,
Does this take a piece of
This
the raise
has-
the age thing, or?
No, that's not part of it yet.
Okay.
This is
Well-
really just to house anybody who comes through probation who needs detention.
This will take care of the
Non-secure
non-secure 16-year-olds too.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, the non-secure.
It might, depending upon how
Oh.
many people they have.
Right, but I mean, they are eligible to
Yep.
go to this facility.
they've been doing this for years.
We assuming any liability or damage that may happen?
Are we? We have an agreement with them. But technically it's under the auspices of the county that they're in our custody essentially.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Amending compensation plan with reference to probation department.
Moved by John, second by Jerry. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing an agreement with Jefferson Lewis Workforce Development Area Pratt Northern Careers Here Program for probation department.
Moved by Greg, second by Randy. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing addendum to agreement public health and Bernie bus service for transportation of preschool children.
Moved by Andrea, second by John. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Fixing date of public hearing to add property to the ATV trail system, the Multis Woodlands Group.
Moved by Ron, second by Jerry. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
To appropriate funds, Sheriff's Department.
Moved by Brian, second by Greg. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing discharge of mortgage.
Moved by Randy, second by Jerry. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing and discharge of mortgage.
Moved by Ron, second by Andrea. Discussion? In favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing agreement between Social Services and Multicultural Association for interpreting services.
Moved by Andrea, second by John. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing agreement between DSS and Cornell Cooperative Extension.
Moved by Brian, second by Andrea. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing agreement between DSS and Lewis County Opportunities Homeless Apartment Initiative.
Moved by Greg, second by John. Discussion?
Got a question on this one. Isn't that a considerable jump from last year?
It's about a $6,000 increase. The rent on the apartment increased. And given some of the damage that's happened from people we've placed, Opportunities increased insurance on the apartment as like a renter's insurance policy. And also we asked for increased time from Lewis County Opportunities staff to go to the apartment.
Oh, because of the
Damage and
the drug use?
Yes.
Would it be cheaper for us to buy a house and just do it, and then just have Lewis County Opportunities take care of it, handle it?
That's kind of a loaded question, but
You know what I mean?
there's a liability issue of owning a piece of property and all of that comes with it. Right now, in order to operate a shelter, if we open a new one, there are incredibly increased regulations for new shelters. This one opened just prior to some shelter requirements, which would require likely 24-hour staffing, security, and other issues before people can enter. So at this point, I still support an apartment, and we still do use hoteling when our apartment is full. So it's kind of a multifaceted approach. Our homeless numbers have increased. We heard earlier about the opioid issues. Certainly we're dealing with that as people exit incarceration, and many of their families won't take them back in, so we're dealing with that on that end. So yes, Greg, it is an increase.
We can't just take a house off the foreclosure sale, we'll turn them loose and let them crash it, and then...
Well, if we get line of sight way to start with, we can.
If you want to be a landlord, it's, it's pretty tough. We've really run into some unintended consequences of this venue. It's a tough population and difficult to deal with.
Thanks, Jenny.
Yes, you're welcome.
Anything further? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Amending tip fee schedule, Lewis County Transfer Station.
Moved by John, second by Brian. Discussion.
So would there be a problem if we wanted to take 2% out? And then...
Do you want to amend it? That's what I was waiting for.
Yeah.
Someone wanted to amend it. So.
You want to make a motion to amend it?
Mr. Chairman, could I speak up on the 2% just for a second, please? The logic behind the 2% increase automatically was something that Pete and I brought to the committee. The logic is, like water and sewer rates, our expenses are going to go up every year. Yes, we try to be more efficient. Yes, we're always looking for ways to keep those costs down. But it's better to go up an amount every year that not everybody's going to feel too much in their pocketbooks, rather than delay, get into financial trouble, and then have to make a huge, steep step that upsets everybody. So if, rather than waiting 5 years and going up 10%, which is what we've done, why not go up 2% every year and, you know, not make people feel it in their pocketbook so much. That's the logic.
Why not relook it each year to see if you need to go up or not, and then set that amount that year? We're not voting down raising the fee. We're just saying make it the right thing that's needed for that year. That's all.
Look at it on an annual basis.
That's all.
Section 3, Brian.
That's just good business.
We'll get it passed.
Yeah.
It basically spells it out. You know, that
Can I be heard on that also?
Sure.
If you read the language, it says that the board would be approving up to a 2% increase in the rates upon notice to the Solid Waste Committee at the November meeting. And part of the other reason why they were looking to do this was, again, to alert the carters and all the people who have to pay the fees in advance so that they know what's coming. So that was some of the other reason why that discussion was taking place and requesting that the fee be set by November.
So, Greg, would you like to make a motion to amend it, or?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to amend it, that we look at it each year to see if it's necessary to raise it 2%.
So, as I understand it, your motion would pull the language to approve up to 2% a year.
Right.
Do I have a second on that? Randy? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Okay, so the motion carries. So now we're back to the original motion, which has been amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Joe Bryan opposed, and the motion carries.
Standard workday and reporting resolution.
Moved by somebody. Greg, second by Jerry. Discussion.
Without giving away a lot of secrets, can somebody explain this just quick? I don't.
Yeah, the state controller, it's a requirement by the state controller. They, any one that is in the retirement system that is not tracked, that the benefit time is not tracked by the payroll department, which that just includes legislators and very few other officials. But each new term then, I need to get the record of activities, and each legislator, Culzer and Lehman, have submitted their record of activities. I then have to calculate the days per month, and it has to be reported. It has to be posted for 30 days and then reported right to the state controller.
Works for me, thank you.
It's clear as mud, isn't it?
And those records have to be kept for 30 years.
Okay. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To appropriate funds, stop DWI.
Moved by Brian, second by Randy. Discussion? In favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
To create and appropriate funds for student worker program.
Moved by Tom, second by Andrea. Discussion? In favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
To close utilities fund.
Moved by Jerry, second by Greg, was that second? Discussion.
This is just a bookkeeping thing?
This is a fund that we've had previously, it's never been used, and it's just to close it out, because we haven't been using it.
Further? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Approving consolidation of vital statistics registrar districts.
Moved by someone. That would be Greg, second by Jerry. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Appointments to Jefferson Lewis Workforce Development Board.
Moved by Andrea, second by Randy. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Appointing members to Lewis County Youth Bureau.
Moved by John, second by Andrea. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Reappointing members to the Youth Bureau Advisory Board.
Moved by Randy, second by John. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
223 is to set a public hearing to obtain public input with reference to community development block grant application.
Moved by Jerry, second by Ron. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Rate resolution number 224, authorizing intermunicipal agreement between the county and village of Castleton for flood damage prevention administration.
Moved by Ron, second by Jerry. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
To appropriate funds, buildings and grounds.
Moved by Jerry, second by John. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Authorizing lease of vacant county land.
Moved by Jerry, second by Ron. Discussion.
What did we used to get for acre for this when it was bigger?
117 an acre.
How much?
$117 an acre.
That's what I thought.
I mean, they advertised it, and this is the best offer.
Well, I saw that. I thought we got more once before.
Well, that's when it gets smaller.
Yeah.
Now we don't have to mow it.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Opposed? Carried.
In support of Lewis County dairy businesses and the Naturally Dairy marketing campaign by Lewis County IDA.
Moved by Ron, second by Tom. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Please resolutions.
Okay, so do we have any other business?
Yeah.
Move to adjourn, Dick. Second.
I'm sorry, who's second?
Jerry.
Jerry?
Nick raised his hand.